So let's go get this vehicle washed up and reviewed, because today what we're going to be looking at is really everything, all the big details, all the little details. We're going to be talking and reviewing the motor, what's new, what are the changes on a 2021 Mustang GT Performance Pack 1, and really just Performance Pack now because there's no Performance Pack 2. And we're going to be talking about not just the motor, but we'll be talking about, acceleration, the interior, the overall look of the vehicle, and that really does change at night. This vehicle really shines and looks its best at night, not just because of the LED front lights, but the whole interior is customizable. You get to pick your color of the gauges, the halo gauge, the numbering, the really everything when it comes to gauges, foot lighting. Really, the whole interior of the vehicle, even the Mustang logo when you open your door sill, all those colors are modifiable. You can really do a lot with this vehicle because of the technology, such as launch control. You can remove, of course, the stability control, which is what gets people in trouble and gets them to drive into trees or crowds. So I don't recommend doing that. But we'll also be talking, of course, about reliability. Because this actually isn't a 5 liter, this is a 3.5 liter, but we will be talking about reliability and of course the variable camshaft timing, which is what this motor is getting worked on and replaced. And we're also going to be talking all about the nice little touches that a Performance package offers to the GT, because it really does make this GT look unique. Gives it the Brembo brakes. Now, of course, not much changes with the motor, and that's what's going to disappoint a lot of people and have people say that it's not worth the money. But I'd argue, and I'm going to show you throughout this video, that a performance package is absolutely worth the money, especially if you add MagneRide, because if you add MagneRide suspension, well, you're getting the similar suspension as a GT 350. So let's get right to it. So here I am in a 2021 Ford Mustang GT. It's the Performance Pack 1. I absolutely love the Performance Pack 1. I find it's a great value because you're getting a lot of the parts, not a lot, some of the parts off the GT 350, off that Shelby. For example, the most obvious one are the Brembo brakes, the 6-piston Brembo brakes in the front. Absolutely fantastic. Now, a regular GT already has great stopping power. I don't think they're necessary, but they're cool to have. Now, the things that impress me the most, now of course this is the same 5 liter that I've talked about in many other videos. I love this 5 liter engine. It's a 9-year-old 5 liter Mustang engine that's been around forever, and it's not even the same one as what they came out with in 2011, because there have been several adjustments or really modifications to the engine since then. My favorite thing about the engine is that it can be a vehicle that gets you great fuel economy, or can also be a vehicle that's very powerful. And normally in a vehicle, it's one or the other. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I never understood that expression, but hey, hopefully someone gets it. Hopefully you all get it. And it's the variable valve timing that makes this vehicle great. So it has variable valve timing, and what exactly does that mean? Well, it means that your camshafts can be adjusted in a way, their timing can be adjusted in a way to give you a very fuel efficient V8, or they can also be made to be quite aggressive. Now that sounds pretty hard to beat. Love the sound of the 5 liter. Love the fact that you're getting the best of both worlds between both a fuel efficient vehicle when you just putt around, let's say in 6th gear. Now if you have the 10-speed automatic transmission, I have that in my personal vehicle, my personal Mustang. I absolutely love it. This 6-speed is smooth, and I'm not a huge fan actually of excessively smooth transmissions, but what's fun is this still feels mechanical, which is getting more and more rare. Heck, manuals are almost completely dead now, and at least this manual still has a mechanical feel to it. Now, it's not nearly as mechanical as the Mach 1 Mustang, the 2021 Mach 1 Mustang that I've got a video out on the internet. I reviewed that. Now that had an extremely mechanical transmission, and it felt actually a lot like the manual transmission off my 1994 5 liter Mustang, which is extremely mechanical. You really just punching it through the gears, and each gear gives you a very satisfying mechanical feel and sound. You really got to work it. Now, what's neat about this clutch and manual transmission is it's very modern. So I'm on a hill right now. We can just see that right up ahead here. And if I start to let go of the clutch, just have to slowly let it go. And even in cowboy boots, just let go of the clutch with the toe. So you plant your heel to the ground, you clutch out with your toes, and the vehicle just pushes itself forward. And I haven't even touched the gas yet. And the vehicle just carries itself forward. So it's high tech, it's very easy to use, and I really do like it. You can hear a bit of that mechanical sound. This is a very mechanical transmission, but nothing like that Tremec transmission off the Mach 1, which was taking the transmission really off from the Shelby. So that's what makes, one of the things that makes the Mach 1 very special. One of the things that makes this 5-liter Performance Pack 1 very special, of course, is the wing in the back. Looks great, very aggressive look. You've got that fantastic 5-liter engine with its variable valve timing. It's also direct injection and port injection. Now, they could have just left it at direct injection. Direct injection is the most modern way to burn fuel in a petrol engine. It burns more of the fuel, and it is either going to give you a little, more power or a little bit better fuel economy because it's more of a complete combustion. However, it can, and it usually does, create carbon buildup in the engine. So Ford has thrown port injection onto this motor as well. And I think that's great. When a company looks to find solutions to long-term problems, they're thinking about, clients down the road. And I think that's great and very important. Now, something that I've traditionally been really sold on is the active exhaust. And now that I've been using it for a few miles, and even in sport mode, I'm not finding it loud enough. And in track mode, I'm happy that the vehicle has it, but when it comes down to it, between spending $1,000 for active exhaust, which don't get me wrong, it's great. If you're going into your neighborhood at 1 or 2 in the morning and you don't want to wake up your neighbors, as you shouldn't, unless, your neighbors cause you trouble. But it's nice because, I can go home tonight at any time and know I'm not, being that jerk in the neighborhood, waking everyone up. However, even in track mode, the exhaust for me just isn't quite loud enough, and I prefer my 2018 Mustang GT, same 5-liter engine, same updates, but I do prefer the sound, and all I've done is remove the resonator. And in removing the resonator and replacing it with an H-pipe, I've got really what I would call very close to a muscle car sound. It's louder, it's more aggressive, it gives the vehicle a bit of a vibration, so you feel like you're in a cammed up muscle car. And I just love that. But, I just want to reiterate, don't get me wrong, I do love the active exhaust, but I do wish it was just a little bit louder and more aggressive when you're in that track mode. So another thing I love about the Performance Pack 1 is you're getting the oil pressure, the PSI gauge. You're also getting the vacuum, the air pressure gauge. And that's, they're just cool little add-ons. Makes it feel just a little bit more like a Shelby, a little more high-end performance muscle sports car. And let you in the comments decide, is this really a muscle car or a sports car? Because I'd say from the drive I've had in this, and really the last several years of living with Mustang GTs, they're really smooth. It is a smooth ride, and I could definitely do an 8-hour drive in it. The seats are unbelievably comfortable. Whether you get the cloth seats or the leather seats, you're getting the same shape of seat, you're getting the same really model of seat. It's just really what covers it. And they're unbelievably comfortable. I've gone all the way down to the ocean, driving for 4.5 hours straight without getting up and getting out of the vehicle, and I was just really pleased with the comfort of the seat. So is it a sports car or is it a muscle car? Well, the engine makes me feel that it's a muscle car, but the suspension makes me feel like it's a sports car or a Grand Tourer. So it definitely earns that GT badge, but I'll let you guys in the comments section let me know what you think, and please let us know why. So I'm filming at night. because I want to show you how neat it is. You can really customize this vehicle by, you can see it right here in the dash. I'm just going through multiple colors. So that's a nice little touch. That's actually on all Mustangs. So if you're definitely any premium Mustang, so a regular GT will have it, and the Performance Package 1 has it, but you don't have to get a Performance Pack 1 to be able to play with your gauge color and also the halo color. So neat little touches to the car, but the neatest touch to the car is actually the rev matching. What really that does is, let's say you're rolling around in 6th and you're coming off the highway, or you're, for whatever reason, you're slowing down and you're downshifting. Well, as you downshift, what's going to occur is the vehicle itself is going to increase the revolutions of the motor so that everything just syncs up more nicely. And really the greatest result out of that, other than smoothness, so I'll do that right now, shift up. Now I'll start downshifting. You can hear it too. So here currently I'm in 4th, and let's say I want to slow down not using the brakes. Of course, you might want to downshift to slow down not using the brakes, or just to hear that great engine. So that's what the rev matching is doing. As I downshift, it's gonna kind of give a little blip of gas, it'll give itself a little gas, and you're just gonna rev up the engine and slow down using the transmission. And that's a nice little touch, because normally when you're going around and doing a bit of aggressive driving and you're just driving, you know, properly and well, you'd be rev matching it, but by doing it yourself, you have to clutch in, add gas, clutch out, downshift, and you've got to add the right amount of gas. So it's real fun once you get used to it. But until you get used to it, you're kind of all over the place. And now, talking just one last time about this transmission, it's smooth, as all manual transmissions are nowadays. But then again, all manual transmissions have become extremely rare, but they're all smooth. Well, this is smooth and very easy to shift, but it still does feel somewhat mechanical. Not quite as mechanical as my 94, and not nearly as mechanical as the Tremec transmission that was on that Mach 1. Now that transmission, the feel to it is unbeatable. I have never had a manual that feels that great in my hands. But for someone that, you know, doesn't want to have to kind of power through the gears, this is a great transmission and you're just gonna love it. Now we're at the back of the vehicle, and I will have this vehicle run on idle so you get to hear it in the different exhaust modes. But I just want to start by talking about look. Of course, look is completely subjective, but I find they did a really good job having this look just the right balance between aggressive and still having it look like it has some class. You know, this doesn't just look like a complete track beast. It doesn't look like a Honda Civic SI. So it's got a good look. The rear air diffuser in the back on the bottom of the vehicle is functional. It looks good. The dual twin tip exhausts have a great look to them. They're polished. The mags on the Performance Pack, black, looking great with wider tires in the back than in the front. I'll get to tire size in just a moment. So with the Performance Pack mags in the front, you get 19-inch by 9-inch wide. That's 255 tires by 40R, and in the rear you get 9.5-inch wide tires, mags, and they're 275 40R, and those are Pirelli P0, so they are sticky and relatively durable, though they'll probably last you about, well, they last me not even 30,000 kilometers, or, you know, you could say not even 20,000 miles, but I'm a little tougher on my vehicle. And speaking of air diffusers, you have them on the front bumper, you have them on the back, on the side, and you've got this big performance wing. It looks great. It actually works. It does give you a bit of downforce, so it's got a good look. It's supposed to help you in the bendies, and all this performance package costs 4,500 Canadian, so probably about 3,500 USD. So I think it's a great package considering you get, much nicer looking mags, better tires, and the 6-piston Brembo brakes only in the front. You do get that 373 torsion differential in the back, and you get the gauges inside. So I think overall it's worth it. Now let's just jump into the interior. So the interior, where you're going to be touching, it's soft touch. It feels good. It doesn't feel cheap. Now that's not to say that there aren't some cheap materials used in it. You know, below the armrest here, yeah, it's hard plastic and it kind of sucks, but it looks good. It's textured plastic, so it passes the test, and you don't have to spend the big bucks on the premium, because you look at these seats, these are the cloth seats. They're just as comfortable as the leather seats I have in my GT convertible premium, and I enjoyed them just as much. They don't have quite the same flash as leather does, of course, but that's really the big difference with the big price difference jumping up to a premium. You know, you still get the leather stick shift, you get a fantastically comfortable thick leather steering wheel. The dash, if you don't look too quickly, if you're not paying attention, looks like it's made of leather, but then again, it's just this soft touch plastic. They even put in fake stitching to keep journalists happy. They did throw on the soft touch, even though this is a performance vehicle. This isn't a luxury car, but you know, you gotta try to make everyone happy, I guess. But the leather steering wheel really did feel great in my hand. I wouldn't switch it, and I'm normally the type who does switch steering wheels on their vehicles to get something, you know, a little more padded. But you know, the interior, I'd say overall, it passes. It's pretty decent. Now my favorite part, the engine. This is fantastic. Okay, so let's just jump right in. You've got dual overhead cam engine with the variable camshaft timing. This has fuel port injection and direct injection. So this V8 is very modern. It's a real 302. So it's, you know, 5,038 cubic centimeters. So a real 302 cubic inch engine, because this did get upgraded in 2018. That's when they added the port injection to the direct injection. So running cleaner, it's you know, it gets a 10 out of 10 in my books. The pistons are cast aluminum, your connecting rods are forged steel, and your crankshaft, really important here, it's forged steel cross plane. So that's pretty high tech and high quality stuff. Now let's just continue on with the list. It gives you 460 horsepower at 7,500 RPM. And that's incredible power, and more importantly, the high RPM isn't common. Historically, it's not common at all for V8 engines. Traditionally, if this wasn't a dual overhead cam engine, essentially, there'd be no way this V8 would be pumping out 7,500 RPM. So that's a really high red line, and it makes for some incredible sounds. I've taken my GT up there often, and it is great. It's fantastic. And you're also getting 420 pound-feet of torque at 4,600 revolutions per minute of that engine. Now this engine is built in the Windsor Essex engine plant, so that's pretty cool. And you know, of course, you all know from the video so far, I do love the G-Trag transmission, but I don't love it quite as much as the Tremec TR3160. Maybe one day Ford could have that trickle down into this model. Now the front end looks amazing. The lights, the LED lights are function great. They're not blinding lights, but they're very effective performance lights. The only thing that bothers me with the whole front lip, it obviously isn't the black lip in the bottom. I love the black lip, but what bothers me with the front bumper, I should have said, is actually the fake air inlet. So I do not like, you know, fake, and you can see right there, that's going nowhere. And it would have been really cool if they would have used that to actually bring cold air to the brakes, especially considering that this is a performance pack. You know, this is the model that if you don't have a Shelby, this is the model of GT you'd get if you're going to bring it to the racetrack. So why isn't that an air inlet to the brakes, especially that they're piston Brembo brakes? I think that would have been great, and it's a lost opportunity. However, on the hood, what's really cool, those vents actually are functional, and it's actually kind of tough to make them functional because you need to make sure you make them functional without just letting in all the rain, especially if you have a cone air filter. Now this model doesn't have the cone air filter. That was reserved for the GT350 and now the GT500, the Shelby models. But it does have a really cool hood where the lines actually help direct the air, and it directs the air right up onto the hood. So this isn't just for styling, and I gotta say, it looks awesome. But it's not just about styling, it's about functionality too. But on the styling, they definitely could have dropped the chromed 5-liter. You know, you've got the right mags, you've got the red Brembos, and then they throw that at us, but at least that's pretty easy to change. Now let's talk tech. This has a lot of tech. It's coming standard with blind spot detection. When you're backing up, it's gonna, you know, scream at you if someone's coming your way, if they're, you know, barreling down the road towards the back of your car. It's got that technology. It has the hill start assist, the lane keeping, meaning if you start going out of your lane, the steering wheel is going to vibrate and bring you back into your lane unless you turn it off. Also have rain sensing wipers, which are pretty cool. You kind of get addicted to those and used to them. You have the pre-collision assist with automatic emergency braking, meaning that the system will pre-charge the brakes when it sees that there's a potential for an accident, and then will actually brake for you last minute. And one of the things I like the most is the auto high beams. I absolutely hate being blinded by other vehicles, so this is actually pretty fantastic. Now, is there anything I really don't like with any of this technology? Well, who cares? You can actually turn it off. So if you don't like lane keeping assist, don't worry about it. It comes right off. Let's also remember that you have line lock for burning up those tires, and track apps. You've got your acceleration timer, accelerometer, brake performance, lap timer, and launch control. So launch control is all about getting the fastest off the line acceleration possible. So all really cool tech in the Mustang. 10 out of 10 when it comes to tech, and that's surprising because I thought I would have never said that about Ford, let's say 10 years ago. But the tech is incredible, and it's all
okay, so let's see what this exhaust sounds like in track mode.
Kind of stuff. Now let's go have a little bit of fun and hear that exhaust with the different exhaust
sorry for the shake. The vehicle
modes.
really does shake when you start it up, but after that the old muscle car feeling is mostly gone, but you have a decent muscle car sound. Let's go check that out.
So whether you spend $1,000 on the active exhaust, which is great, you can go from silent all the way to, well, this level of loudness. Ford has done a great job since 2017. The 2017s were some pretty silent 5 liters. This has incredible sound, and I wonder if part of that is due to the 12:1 compression ratio, or if it's something else going on in the motor. I'd love to know what, you know, the specialists, the engineers have to say in regards to the extra sound that we've gotten out of this vehicle. So I said I'd try to talk about every aspect of this vehicle, so I do want to mention that this does have electronic power assisted steering, so you get to decide the firmness and the ratios of the steering wheel, the ratio between the steering wheel and the wheels, so you can have comfort setting, normal setting, or sport. It is unbelievably, and I'd say excessively precise for daily driving in sport mode for the steering. You know, that's a power assisted rack and pinion steering to be very precise. I do highly recommend getting the optional MagneRide damping system, because that way you have the same style as the Shelby GT 500, making it just a little more unique. And the block of the engine is made of cast aluminum, so you know that's all good and dandy, but what I'm really loving is the 12:1 compression ratio and the 7,500 RPM red line. This engine is a beast. 10 out of 10. I have very few engines that I can say that I prefer. Now let's talk about space.
So what's nice about the Mustang is the trunk is actually quite huge and the back seats go down so you and your dog can fit in the trunk. And trunk space is usually something that sports cars don't have. Which kind of makes me feel like this is a muscle car because it reminds me of my 72 Plymouth Satellite. That thing, you can fit a world of stuff into the trunk, and this, you can get a whole lot of junk or poodle in the trunk.
Okay, so I'm pretty happy because I found a way to sneak in Mary Pierre and Winston into the video. Sorry, I know that bugs some of you, but some of you do find Winston cute. So I won't be trading him in anytime soon, whether you guys like him or not. But as promised, let's talk about space and weight and all the little details. Now, the curb weight of the Fastback manual is 3,730 pounds. And if you get a convertible, that increases 175 more pounds, almost 200 pounds. You're at 3,916 pounds. So Mustangs aren't exactly light, but they're not excessively heavy. They do weigh more than a Ford Escape, which is kind of scary to think about, but your overall width without mirrors is 75.4 inches, and your overall width including mirrors is 81.9 inches for those of you thinking about getting it into your garage. Now, obviously overall length is a bit of a problem for garages, certain ones, because you're at 188.5 inches. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you won't have any trouble with the variable valve camshaft timers, those round pucks that you see up there. You won't need to be replacing those on this 5 liter. This 5 liter is extremely reliable. It's worked out all the little bugs that may have existed in 2011. Overall, I really had a great time driving this vehicle. I highly recommend it to anyone that's considering a sports car. The seats are very comfortable. The suspension is very comfortable for a car with this kind of power. It's just overall a great vehicle, and I think you'll all enjoy it. So Mary, wave bye. There she is. And wish you all more cars and more power. Hope you get to put the pedal to the metal and have a great week. Thanks for watching.